This is a channeling done to connect to guides and ancestor spirits associated with Atlantis and our Atlantean connection. It's the first session I have done of this nature, and let's see where it goes. Thank you. This is May 12th. What? All right, now that the clearing of your throat has begun, we will go deeper now into a little bit more of your ancestry, your history, so you can better understand more of where you came from and more of your current human potential, because many people in contemporary Earth are not actually utilizing the fullest of their own abilities or esoteric or physicalized technologies, and we, from your ancestry in this way, being what you understand as Atlantean, have been masters of esoteric technology, interweaving this with what you would understand as physicalized technologies. Now, we will begin by beginning to break down some of the mechanics of how our society has utilized esoteric technology and some of its applications. Our technologies allowed for us to be able to, you'd understand it as teleportation, but we don't see it that way. We see it as shifting reality to a different point of view, but you would understand it in your science fiction terms and in your quantum terminologies of your current technologies as teleportation. And the idea is we would be able to teleport in a variety of different resources and other technologies and other beings from other galaxies, as well as other universes. And much of our technology was based in this idea. We were essentially a group of people, in terms of the collective that is speaking to you right now. We were a group of people that gathered together utilizing much of our innovations that represented a linkage of our own consciousness. And our own consciousnesses were able to then power these innovations. These are technologies that we utilized to be able to shift collectively our society in a particular framework, in a particular way that allowed for certain resources to actually be teleported in to the society whenever needed. And this allowed for us to be able to bring in new species, new varieties of different foods, new varieties of different minerals, new varieties of animals, all of which played a particular role in our society. We would utilize different animals for the energetic balancing of the land, but also so we could interact with their spiritual consciousness to receive wisdom from them and to be able to understand deeper aspects of life lessons, because these beings would be able to impart to us a variety of different perspectives, depending, of course, upon where we teleported them in from. Many of these animal-based beings were from other parts of the earth, and we would actually be able to teleport them to our society. Other versions of these animals were not from Earth. They were essentially what you'd understand to be different levels of spiritual beings that would then be working with us to co-create a physicalized body. So we would essentially be manifesting in, teleporting in a physical body for a consciousness to inhabit that had not existed previously on Earth before, and we essentially helped it to birth itself in the physical reality framework. So we were actually bringing in new species that had not previously existed. And this is because we were masters of what you understand of DNA technology, but not in the way you use it. We utilize DNA technology in such a way where we actually were assembling DNA psychically and utilizing our technological advancements to create structures where we could literally create organisms understanding more of the genome than you currently do. And through creating these organisms, we were providing bodies for other forms of consciousness to then incarnate in. And this would allow for us to be able to learn from these consciousnesses and provide them with a variety of different experiences, and they would actually then be disseminated upon the Earth or within our island networks. We also allowed for other schematics, other inspirations from other off-world civilizations to be understood, so we could then expand upon our technologies. We were in constant trade with multiple races as well as other technological civilizations that were existing on Earth. And through this connection that our group was facilitating on the Atlantean part, we were able to form collective consciousness networks that would enable the sharing of designs, the sharing of schematics, and the sharing of research in a very deep and embodied manner, where we would be able to understand the fullness of designs, the fullness of how these technologies worked in a way that transcended one human just talking to a human. We were able to bypass much of the slow learning processes you contemporarily deal with, where you have to have your physical mind slowly break down the process. In this enhanced form of consciousness that our technology allowed for us to create, we were able to actually send our energy body extensions into the schematics, where we would actually fuse ourselves with the technology. So when we returned into body, it would actually be automatically understood. And the more accelerated this version of practice was between each of us, the quicker the integration and understanding of these technologies would take place. They would then manifest in dreams, they would manifest in inspirations, and we would soon learn over time through following synchronicity how these devices worked, how these machines of consciousness worked. And this was part of our group dynamic. We had essentially vibrational tools, resonance calibrators that allowed for our physical bodies to go into automatic states of heightened awareness while simultaneously being relaxed, so we could spend prolonged periods of time in this projected point of view that would then allow for us to be able to access various levels of reality, so we could then begin to download whatever it is we wanted to download, explore whatever it is we wanted to explore. And the idea is our physical bodies would actually remain completely nourished, completely relaxed, due to the type of technological alterations we were making to our systems just through the machineries. So in other words, it was the emanations of the vibrations of these particular systems that were allowing for our physical bodies to stay in these deep states of which you know to be trance, or which you know to be your gamma state. And this is something that we began to utilize once our group pioneered it. We utilized it amongst many other groups, and we soon began to bring in various forms of different technologies. This was something that became slightly problematic at certain points when certain members of these groups began to create aspects of their consciousness that were in a particular resonance, where they were accessing technologies that were not necessarily permitted amongst our group consensus. So they began to essentially download schematics for secret technologies that had multiple implications. Not all of them you would consider to be negative, but understand it was not amongst the group consensus, so in that way it was forbidden. It was in violation of what was at the time deemed to be morally appropriate, and as a result, it was something that not all groups saw fit. So the need for secrecy was perceived by these factions, and this then created situations where technology became secretive and was then disseminated in which you'd understand as a black market type fashion, where certain individuals were given these technologies and there became a commerce associated with these forbidden technologies at the time. Some of these technologies created what you'd understand to be alterations in weather patterns. The reason this was such a big deal is because weather patterns are a reflection of the collective consciousness. And when you begin to externally manipulate weather patterns, you can alter the collective consciousness in particular ways that are not necessarily against free will, but the idea is that it will bring up aspects of the society that the society on a physical ego level is not currently ready to explore, but it's essentially bringing up these things. We existed in a particular state of developing unity consciousness, although it was not completely there. So when these types of alterations would happen, it would actually be shocking to the collective consciousness systems. These weather patterns also created portals. The idea is all of your weather patterns are linked to certain reality frameworks, and when you have what you'd understand to be gray, dreary weather, there are certain realities that are linked to that variety of weather. When you have very windy weather, this is another one. When you have hurricane-like weather, this is another one. And the idea is that through the alteration of weather technologies, various portals were opened, and this allowed primarily for different beings that had not had access to Earth's coordinates to then be able to come in to the framework. This again, of course, when you go to the highest levels of perception in terms of vibration, this is something that we all were agreeing towards, so we could go through this particular theme. But when you then zoom in to the Earth point of view, there are aspects of this that many people were not directly consenting to, but it was happening anyway. Again, reflective of elements of our own shadow and the idea of fear and the idea of the fear of technology. And fear of what technology could bring was actually what, on a collective belief system level, led to the manifestation of such occurrences. Through these portals that were opened through weather patterns, a variety of different interdimensional species were able to come not only into Atlantean societies, but also into other aspects of the Earth. We did not see this coming, so we were not prepared. It was not negative collectively, but it was something that for many people was startling because we began to experience them quite viscerally, and it was very shocking to many people because it went against the current paradigm, the current belief generally of what reality is and what reality could be. This then led to a conflict that existed amongst these types of groups that I am a part of. These types of groups then began to attempt to suppress one another, to actually develop technologies to counter the secret technologies, because no one would actually fess up about who was bringing these beings in, who was altering the weather patterns in such a way. And as a result, it led to, which you'd understand to be technological sabotage on a psychic level, where as a result, we manifested collective conflict in such a way within our own weather patterns and through the sabotage of our energies, where we began to collectively manifest in which you understand to be a collective natural disaster, which eventually led to the extinction of our society in terms of a unified network of islands. As a result of this, much of this technology was lost, but the fundamental teachings you have not lost, the fundamental concepts you have not lost. The idea is your perception creates your reality, your energy creates your reality. That is still maintained from our society, and the idea is we took that to such a point where we developed technologies that could help us capitalize on the natural ability of collective manifestation. We are emanating this to your reality now, mainly because certain technologies are again going to be birthed here. And this is going to be done in a very different way because of the particular version of Earth's timeline you are all on. So these technologies will actually be able to assist you in birthing things in that are in resonance with the collective consensus of your collective consciousness in terms of what people are asking for. And you would understand this to be free energy as one of the primary ones. But this is not the only thing that these types of technologies will assist you in developing. Your idea of artificial intelligence systems will also be able to be downloaded through such a means. And the idea is the schematics, the blueprints, the understandings can be generated, can be developed through such technologies. Had our society not destroyed itself in this way, we would have most likely manifested in artificial intelligent systems. We were very close to it. But understand, we allowed for our desire for more of this instantaneous manifestation, this teleportation, and some of these other abilities our technologies provided us in this way that we have not mentioned to get the best of our energy in terms of where we were investing it in our development projects. So we never ended up going fully in that direction, partially because many people that were a part of these groups did not believe we actually needed it. We felt we were so advanced because of our spiritual exploration in this way, where we said, why would we actually need that? Aren't we already embodying that? So we made an assumption. We created an expectation about that technology and believed it would actually be something that would be irrelevant to our society, so we never actually invested in it. But had we not gone down that particular road so fully, we would have invested more of our energy into the idea of these artificial intelligent systems. This would have allowed for a very different point of view to take place, and there are actual Atlantian realities where this does occur. I do not exist on that particular timeline. I am, however, projecting into my future self, and I currently exist from this particular point of view. So I am broadcasting to you from what you consider to be your past. In this reality, I am actually still alive. In this reality, I'm actually journeying in such a way that allows for me to connect to your reality and broadcast in this manner. And I am peering into this reality mainly to convey this primary message to you, that your technology will interweave itself with your consciousness, but not in the way your science fiction movies predict. Not in a way where you're actually implanting technology into you. The idea is your technology can be used in vibration emanation, frequency emanation, to be able to help members of your society achieve deeper states of consciousness. And what will happen when these technologies assist you in doing this is eventually your biological systems, your normal bodies, will be able to develop it on their own because the technologies alter the DNA in that manner. And because of that, accelerations in your own human evolution can then begin to occur, and you can then begin to allow for yourselves to open up to these greater intelligent ideas that you can then use to expand upon your own technologies of your current Earth, as well as the idea of deeper spiritual connections to these higher self versions, these astral versions, these non-physical versions of the inhabitants of your world. It will give you a point of view of your planet and all inhabitants of the planet where you will not be able to actually deny the spiritual reality of them. And this will allow for you to begin to access, in this way, the consciousness of plants and animals. It will also give you a point of view into the notion of extraterrestrial existence, so you can begin to interact with extraterrestrials in this manner as well. It will also clue you in to the soon-to-be discovered notions that inner Earth societies exist, although there will be some time on your world before this can actually crystallize, because it does not exist in the way many people of your Earth presume that it does. However, there will come a point in your computing where its presence will soon be detected. It will be some time before this information actually disseminates across the public eye, but it will also occur when open contact and disclosure begins to take place on a public level. And the idea is that these societies are slowly allowing for members of your governments to be able to actually detect them. But they are doing it in a playful way. They are only hinting at their existence. But the idea is that they have been doing this for some time. And this is one of the reasons why many of your governments, in terms of different regions of Earth in a contemporary and recent past sense for your version of Earth, were searching for inner Earth societies. Because they were leaving clues, they were leaving hints. They did not want to be totally lost from the collective consciousness of your contemporary version of Earth, for if that were to happen, it would actually slow down the surface evolution, and it would not allow for an ease of contact to occur when the general collective consciousness of the surface population would then be ready. We thank you for listening to this message. Our group will continue to come through. We will share many secrets about the Atlantean world in a way that is relevant to your society, your innovations. We thank you for your attention here and your time. Please enjoy your paradise.